Hello, and welcome to the 12th training. If you don't know me, I'm Meredith Hawley. I am a lawyer, power dynamics facilitator, and best-selling author. I help employees stop sexual harassment without quitting their job, and today I want to talk to you about how to be more confident at work. So a lot of people come to me, and especially when they're in harassing or discrimination experiences, they tell me that they just wish that they were more confident in meetings. So a lot of times people who are socialized as women have the experience of being interrupted in meetings and then being reprimanded for interrupting, right? And seeing men treated differently than we're being treated. And this can feel like it's totally undermining our confidence, eroding our confidence. And then we end up going into I know I've had this experience of going into meetings and just sitting there like, am I gonna say the wrong thing? Am I gonna do something wrong? Ah. Am I going to get yelled at? Like, why are things so unfair? And then we get mad at ourselves, right? Because we're like, I should be more confident, but I'm not being more confident, and there's nothing wrong with me, and these losers are creating the problem, but now I'm the one that's not confident, and it can turn into a giant spiral. I had a colleague once say to me that she wanted to be involved in depositions was the particular issue. She wanted to be able to conduct her own deposition, but she kept telling me, that I'm still learning, but I want to learn. And the person who was supervising her was not encouraging her to step into a leadership role. But she also was like, I don't know when I'm supposed to. And she felt like it totally was eroding her confidence, that she wasn't being given more opportunities to learn. And then I had a client tell me the other day she's starting a business, and she kept telling me that she's not very smart, or she's not as smart as other people. So she doesn't know if she's gonna be successful in business. And so if those sound similar, like you feel like sometimes you're still learning, so it's not okay to have confidence, or you see other people who seem smarter than you, and so you feel like you shouldn't have confidence, then this one is for you. And I really believe that you can go into any situation if you want to, feeling confident. Sometimes we don't want to feel confident, and that's okay too, but I think it is always available. So in general, my friend who was saying she's still learning, my client who was saying that she's not as smart as some people, we all have thoughts like this that we think are observations, that we just say like, the sky is blue and I'm not very smart, and they're not observations. They're self-criticisms, right? Some of them are really self-abuse, but they're based in thoughts like this. And most of our thoughts are based in confirmation bias, this concept of confirmation bias. And so today I want to talk to you about how you can use negotiation principles, like legal negotiation principles, to handle confirmation bias. So I'm calling this tool the BANSA. It comes from the BATNA, which is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. It's from the book Getting to Yes, that we use in mediation and negotiation. Okay. So first you have to understand, what is confirmation bias. So confirmation bias is a researched scientific thinking error that exists in all of our brains, where we see evidence of what we expect to see, of what we've already decided is true. So there's a story, and somebody's going to have to cite me to this, because I heard this a long time ago. And now when I was writing notes for talking about this, I was like, is this even real? But I just remember hearing a story, and it's a good example of confirmation bias, that when the first ships came to the American continents, the native people in the land had never seen ships that looked like them. And so initially they couldn't even see the ships. They didn't see the ships coming at all because they had never seen this happen. So they expected it not to exist and didn't even notice them. They had to get used to ships coming before they could notice the ships coming. And the easier way to talk about this, I just think that that's a fascinating example of confirmation bias and the way that it prevents us from seeing what's available in our environment, right? But the easier one is like when I bought a blue car, all of a sudden I saw blue cars everywhere. I have a blue car, and my friend told me that when her little daughter sees a blue car like mine, she says, "Hi there," because she thinks it's me, but she notices the blue cars because she knows I have one, right? Even though it's not even hers. So when you are seeing results that you don't want, you know you have a confirmation bias to see the results that you don't want, right? And so there's often evidence of multiple conflicting ideas. My client, for example, who thinks she's not smart, I bet there are a lot of situations in which she would believe she is smart, where she would have evidence that she is smart. But for whatever reason, she's choosing this confirmation bias to see evidence that she's not smart enough, right? So what we're assuming now, what we're believing now, determines what we notice in the world. And the actions that we take based on what we notice get us the results that we have now. So if we're not feeling confident at work, usually it's because we're noticing all this evidence of why we should not feel confident. There's almost always equally available evidence that we could feel confident, that we're just not seeing the same way the native peoples didn't see the ships because they had an assumption in their minds. They just had not seen it before. So the way that we do this in negotiation, the way that the BATNA works, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, this is what we want to apply to when you're not feeling confident. You're going into a meeting, for example, and you're not feeling confident at work. So the BATNA says, what is your alternative? What is your best alternative to taking what you have now? So sometimes we'll be negotiating in a case, right? And I will make an offer for my client. The other side comes back and makes an offer for the other client. And then the question is whether we continue to negotiate and make offers or whether we file in court, right? That's another alternative. And so we have to consider, do we like the alternative of filing in court, or do we like the alternative of continuing to negotiate, right? So this is how the BATNA works, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. You choose the best alternative, and there could be 7 alternatives, right? Another alternative is just give up now and move to Colorado, right? Buy a basketball team. There are tons of other alternatives, right? And so we want to look at the best alternative when we're negotiating. In the same way, when you notice yourself feeling not confident, often what happens, and I see my clients do this when we're negotiating, it's interesting. So we'll get an offer from the other side, and it's very common in legal negotiations. We go back and forth a lot of times, right? And we'll get an offer from the other side, and my client will be like, well, I don't know, I guess, should we take it or should we just give up now? And I'm like, well, no to both of those. We don't just take it or just give up. Like, we look at all of the alternatives. In the same way, when we're not confident going into a meeting, a lot of times we think the only 2 options are, for example, I don't know what I'm talking about, or I know everything, right? And we get into this binary thinking of either I have to prove I know everything about what we're talking about, or I'm stupid. Anytime you're thinking that there are only 2 options in a situation, you know you're having a confirmation bias thinking error, and it's leading to the result of not being confident. So what you want to do is you want to look at all of your options. So I'm going to break this down into steps of what you can do. There are 5 steps. I'm going to look at my notes. So first you want to, again, write everything out. This is always the process you're going to have when you're making different decisions. You're going to write out all of your thoughts right now and why aren't you feeling confident now. Write out all your justifications and your evidence for not feeling confident now. Then you want to think about what is the result that you want, the specific result that you want in this situation. So if you want to go into a meeting and you want to feel confident, why do you want to feel confident? What's the result you want to create in the meeting? Do you want to convey information? If you want to apply for a job and feel confident about applying for a job, you know the result you want is the job. So first, you write down everything you're thinking now. Second, you decide what is the result that you want and what is a specific action you can take towards that result. Oh, I skipped ahead. Okay, first, you write down what you're thinking. Second, you write down the result that you want. Third, you remember that alternatives are not opposites. So we're thinking about the best alternative to your negative self-analysis. Your negative self-analysis is step 1, right? That's identifying your negative self-analysis. And then step 2 is giving your brain direction. Step 3 is understanding that alternatives are not opposites. So when you're looking at the best alternative to your negative self-analysis, you're not looking at the opposite of what you're thinking now. Number 4 is you decide one specific action you can take to get the result that you want. And that's not like feel more peaceful, like show up every day and do my best. Like in step 4, you want to write down the exact specific action that you can take to get the result that you want. So the example that I take 100 actions in my business. We try to do it every month, at least every quarter. So I wanted to do more speaking in my business. And so I made a list of 100 chambers of commerce, and I called 100 chambers of commerce to offer to do a speaking event for their audience, for their business owners, to talk about harassment and discrimination. And calling each chamber of commerce was one specific action I needed to take. So at the time, I may not have felt confident about my entire business, but when I knew one specific action I could take, I could feel confident about that one action. Even if the action is just Google chambers of commerce, right? I can feel confident about Googling chambers of commerce, which is really the only small next step. When I look at the broader picture of all of my impossible goals, I'm probably not going to feel confident, but I can feel confident about the one simple next step that takes me towards the result I want. If you're going into a meeting and you're afraid of the people in the meeting, maybe they're intimidating, for example, you're not in the meeting now. You can take one step out of your office and feel confident about that. And you can take 100 steps towards the meeting. Do you feel confident opening a door? Do you feel confident putting on your jacket? What are all the steps towards the meeting that you actually do feel confident about? Redirect your brain towards those because it gives you easy access to the confidence that you're looking for. Okay, so step 1 is write down everything you're thinking now. This is your negative self-analysis. Step 2 is be specific about the result you want. If you're making a proposal in a meeting, you want to sell that proposal. You want some result from that proposal. What's the specific result you want? 3, remember that alternatives are not opposites. So when we're looking at the best alternative to your negative self-analysis, we're not looking at the opposite of what you're already thinking. Number 4, write down the specific a specific action that you can take towards the result, a small specific action, and then write 100 other specific actions, small specific actions that you can take, because those give you access. The small examples give you access to confidence. You can put on your jacket on the way to the meeting. I feel 100% sure that you can feel confident about that. Step 5 is imagine someone who's already gotten the result that you're looking for. What do they think about that result? What are they thinking about? What are they looking like? Imagine that person and get really specific about it. So again, Beyonce, Jesus, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr., have they been able to go into a meeting and feel confident? What do they think about it? Have they ever felt not confident before a meeting, potentially? And how did they overcome it? Tap into someone that you admire, that you see as confident, and imagine what their thought is about themselves, and just be curious whether you can offer that to yourself. Because a lot of times we're setting these just imaginary barriers to feeling confident that we feel like we have a lot of justification for. And the alternative is not to believe that you're amazing at everything. It's just to give yourself the confidence in the small steps towards your result, and to redirect your confirmation bias to see where that confidence is available. I think this process can help you achieve impossible goals. We've done so much more in my business since I used this than I ever thought was possible. And it's all about letting the alternative not be the opposite of what you think now, right? Open yourself up to the alternatives by focusing on the next specific. All right, you guys, let me know what questions you have about workplace, about advancing in your career, and I will try to include that in future trainings. And if you know anybody who's unhappy at work, of course, tell them to reach out. Thank you.